Zack Snyder's Justice League has finally come out on HBO Max, and now we get to watch the film in its entire 4-hour behemoth runtime and digest every single moment of what Zack Snyder originally intended. Now, I have a spoiler-free review up on my channel. If you still have not seen the film, check out that review, watch the movie, and come back to this one when you get the chance. So, I'm going to be talking about spoilers here, and it's not going to be like with my other spoiler reviews where it's all in continuous order, like I go by each little step of the film. I'm just going to pick out random parts I enjoy that are spoilerish and just talk about my general thoughts on them. And maybe some negatives, but it's really not, the negatives are not really spoilerish, so oh well. So the first opening scene, so much better than the iPhone camera thing that we saw in the theatrical cut. In our opening scene, we have the death of Superman from Batman vs. Superman, and we get to see how he himself had awakened all three mother boxes, and it makes more sense on why Superman is so important to this story, why they need to resurrect him, and how important these mother boxes really are. This was a great opening scene that should have been kept in the theatrical cut. And then we head into Batman meeting up with Aquaman. And none of the awkward reshoot shots are present anywhere. No cave drawing in the back. The lighting is different. In fact, the entire cinematography of the entire movie have been drastically changed to what Zack Snyder usually does. And it fits much better because these sets and these shots were supposed to be filmed in this way. And I loved the way it was shot. It was so beautiful to look at. You even feel the cold in which the Batman and Aquaman are talking in. And the folklore song that the women sing in the background, it transitions much better than what we saw in the theatrical cut with just Arthur Fleck leaving in front of a green screen. It was just really awkward. And so we also get a new opening for The Flash, where not only does he meet his father without the stupid Josh Whedon glasses joke, but we also get to see him save Iris West, who's a potential love interest for him in the comics, if you knew that. And while the song, I will say, does feel a little out of place, it just fits well with the Zack Snyder style, and so it never really bothered me that much anyway. Plus, the whole sequence is so beautiful. Not only are the special effects for his running amazing, but it's a slowly pacing that takes its time to let us know what kind of character Ezra Miller's Flash is, and you get a better idea and understanding of what his motivations are and why he would want to join the Justice League, is to find some future purpose with his powers. And I really enjoy that aspect of his character. And also the Flashpoint subplot, it pays off beautifully, and it never felt like it was shoehorned in. It was a thing that was discussed earlier in the film, and how that could potentially be dangerous. You get a little hint in the middle, and then in the end, you get the big payoff in the final battle. And I'll talk about the final battle a little later. But also, Cyborg, his backstory is much more fleshed out. This is one I want to talk about entirely right now. You see him brooding in the apartment like we've seen in the theatrical cut, but it's not shot like in the theatrical cut. And you get a sense of resentment from his father, like in the theatrical cut. But you also see his backstory, in which he was a football player and how he was in an accident with his mother, and while he was almost about to die and his mother's already dead, you see how it actually really affected him and how he is trying to get back into society, but it's really hard for him. And so you get an understanding of why he would want to join the Justice League, to also fill in that gap in his life. And it just makes his character feel much more richer. Sure, and he does serve the same purpose as in the theatrical cut, but it's the backstory, the emotional beats that he goes through, the character arc that he goes to, including when he loses his father, when he sacrifices himself to let the Justice League know where the Mother Box will be next. It just impacts his character so much, to the point where you could genuinely feel bad for him. And also Ray Fisher's acting here, man, was he Warner Brothers just did him dirty in the theatrical cut. He was really good in this film, and he actually stood out as one of my favorite characters this time around. I was very surprised. Ray Fisher, great job as Cyborg. Man, this movie is so much better than the theatrical cut. And Steppenwolf. Man, is Steppenwolf great here. Now, I hated him in the theatrical cut. He was just a generic bad guy that the superheroes had to punch. But you get a sense of motivation, a sense of reasoning why he's doing what he's doing here. That is just for his nephew to love him again. Since he apparently betrayed him at one point, he wants to right the wrongs he has done and please his family once again. Which is why he is doing a lot of the terrible stuff he's doing, trying to find all 3 Mother Boxes, and he was just a villain with motivation. I can't believe we actually have a villain with motivation here. And it just made the conflict with the heroes and the villain all the more powerful at the end. It makes the final battle have a lot more tension and suspense than it originally had. And the Return of Superman was handled brilliantly here. Whereas in the theatrical cut, it was ruined by a ton of reshoots. Here, you don't get any of those awkward green screen cuts anymore. None of that upper lip CGI face. It all felt naturally distinct. It felt cohesive. It felt like it had impact. And it made Superman so much more intimidating here when he is going rogue. It was just a great scene that I really enjoyed watching. And also the lighting just made it all the more better. Seriously, the cinematography here was a major improvement. But once the heroes are apparently think that they're about to be defeated, they realize that Victor Stone's father actually sacrificed himself to let the heroes know where the Mother Box will be next by giving it so much more power for Cyborg to realize where it is. And so once they know where the Mother Box is, they are able to go into the final battle. Before that, you get a little bit of characterizations with Superman and him with Lois Lane. It was kind of like with the theatrical cut, but it uses scenes from old trailers from the original Justice League cut that did not make it to the film, and new pieces of dialogue that are put in place into these scenes, and it just felt all the more emotional. I really felt something genuine this time around with Superman, and it just made his character journeying from Man of Steel, from Batman vs Superman, to this feel like it's having some sort of a conclusion. And man, if you remember that deleted scene with Superman heading into his ship to get a new suit, it is so beautiful here. I love when he gets the black suit, and man, it looks so good. In fact, I think this is my favorite portrayal of Henry Cavill's Superman that I've seen so far. Not only is he powerful, but his character had a reason to be there. And even though there's not as much dialogue with Henry Cavill here as you may hope for, which is kind of my other nitpick gripe I had, he still felt like a genuine Superman that can save the day and help out with the Justice League, but also not overpower them. Because in the final battle, each character has a reason to be there and nobody feels out of place. All the characters' journeys that everyone went through, including with Aquaman trying to take up his place in the world, I would say that that is the weakest of the characterizations that all the Justice League have. Aquaman is a little underutilized, I would say. But man, Jason Momoa saved the character with his performance, charisma, and you get a bit of subtlety to his character that is supposed to set up his solo movie. And so I could not really blame Snyder for not giving him as much characterization, since I bet he knew that there was going to be a solo movie, so he was saving much of that for James Wan to do. But he still made Aquaman a standout character with the dialogue he was given, the certain mannerisms he has, and his fight with Steppenwolf in the beginning was just awesome. Now let's talk about the final battle. Finally. Man, it was so much better. You don't get the red sky. That was obviously changed when Joss Whedon had to come in just to brighten the whole picture up. And it felt oversaturated. But here, we are back to the blue sky, the night sky, and it was a beautiful final battle. It was the definition of epic. Not only is the camera and cinematography was amazing, but each character, as I said, had a reason to do what they do. Flash needs to gather up enough speed force for Cyborg to pull apart the mother boxes. Wonder Woman needs to help out and fight Steppenwolf himself along with Aquaman. And Batman needs to get the characters right into the battle and open up the gates for them to break in and stop them. Everybody felt like they needed to be there. And as I said, the way the action was filmed was beautiful. And you get a satisfying group shot that is going to remain iconic for the Justice League. And when Superman also returns, you feel the impact. And I love how it was portrayed in the entirety of the finale. Oh, man. I just love this final battle. It was the definition of epic, guys. Also, quick side note, Darkseid. You get to see him in Wonder Woman's explaining what the origins of the Amazonians, Atlanteans, and Reign of Man fighting together to defeat Steppenwolf. Remember that in the theatrical cut? Yeah, that's changed to Darkseid instead. And they don't go outside somewhere to talk about it. They remain inside the Batcave to talk about it. And Darkseid, man, I hope to see more of him if they ever do a sequel. If the Snyder Cut is successful on HBO Max, they might do a sequel, and I would love to see more of Darkseid, because man, he was genuinely terrifying. And when he shows up at the end of the final battle, and it seems like all hope is lost with all the heroes, man, Darkseid's presence was intimidating. Not even Steppenwolf could tell was a bit scared of what might happen. But that's when we pay off the Flashpoint. When Flash realizes that everything might go wrong and he has to break his one rule and turn time back around. Man, the Flashpoint scene was awesome. Not only was his running special effects much better here, but the way the whole scene was shot, the way it was conceptualized was beautiful. Everything about this final battle felt like a Zack Snyder movie. That's my biggest praise. He was able to do what he wanted, and he did it. And Steppenwolf's death was much more epic than what I could ever imagined. He gets punched. No, he first gets stabbed by Aquaman's trident. He gets punched by Superman, and he was about to go through the portal. But before that, Wonder Woman takes her sword and beheads him. And once the body of Steppenwolf actually gets in through the portal, Darkseid just stomps on his head and crushes his skull, breaking one of his horns. Oh my god, that was such an epic villain death. One of my favorite villain deaths in film history. And you get a potential setup for Justice League 2 if that ever happens, and I hope it does. And we get then the big money shot of all the heroes standing together, looking in the distance, no green plants around, just an epic hero shot of everybody together. And man, it was so satisfying. If you remember the early posters, it felt like that. The early posters of the original theatrical Justice League, or the first promotional images, it felt that epic. I loved it. And then we get our epilogue, which we are teased with an apocalyptic future. First, we get the conclusions of all the characters' arcs and where they are now. But after that, we now get an apocalyptic future dream sequence, like what we saw in Batman vs. Superman. And the scene is something that I'm going to talk about in a separate video. I'm going to save that for later. I'm going to talk about Jared Leto's scene in a much different video and explain why I think Jared Leto has redeemed himself as a Joker and how I hope to see him in more future projects. So I'm going to save that, okay? Don't worry. That's going to be for a future video. And then the final scene is with Batman waking up from that dream, and we get to see him meet Martian Manhunter, who we saw earlier in the film as Martha, in which we think that it was her coming to Amy Adams' Lois Lane to consult her about the death of Superman, and how we realize it's Martian Manhunter. I would say that looking back at it now, it does feel a little tacked on, and I don't think it fits as well as it should. I'd rather have this final scene be the only time we see Martian Manhunter in terms of storytelling purposes, in my opinion. But wow, it was just such a good scene to see him actually in the Justice League film. If they do more movies, I want to see him there. Because man, he was awesome. Dude, Snyder Cut was a great film. The pacing was better. The runtime, looking back at it, despite a few scenes maybe needing to be cut out, because it did not need to be 4 hours long, I feel, for the most part, it earned it. It all felt necessary. The characters were much richer this time around. The special effects are much more polished. The action was much better helmed. But the story was much better told entirely. It felt like a much richer movie than what we got in the theatrical release in 2017. And you know what? I rarely do it in spoiler reviews, but screw it. I'm going to give Zack Snyder's Justice League an A+. Looking back on it now, no movie's perfect, and I would say that some of the scenes do feel a bit tacked on, But man, those payoffs overweight my negatives so much that I just cannot help it but give it an A+. I really do think it is a great movie. If you feel any different, I think there's one thing we can agree on. This is going in the trash. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Look forward to my review for episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I might have that up tonight, depending on how much time it needs to upload this video, because we are 21 minutes in by now. So I'm just going to stop the review here because it could take a long time to edit. So I'll have the Falcon and Winter Soldier review up as soon as possible. Hopefully today, maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. People like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.